I guess the relationship that I saw in the book that I could relate to was there's dysfunction and also closeness with the grandmother, the mother, and the daughter. And I don't think that's specific to Native Americans, but that's what I related to in the book. I guess I'll kind of tell a really personal experience with that. My sister was in jail, and we had a fight before she got in jail, and so I hadn't talked to her the whole time. And 2 weeks before she had a baby in jail, I found out she was pregnant. And when I found out my mother and my sister were contemplating what they were going to do, how they were going to help her, how they were going to take care of the baby. And when I found out, I was upset because my mother is a grandmother. She has no place to raise a baby. And my sister had 3 kids, and she was single, and she had no means to raise another baby. So me and my husband, we already had our 2 girls, but we were living here. And out of all our family, I felt like we were the ones who, probably the most reasonable people to raise the baby. So we had 2 weeks to decide, and we chose to take the baby, and we had him from day 1, and we adopted him now. And I, from day 1, never felt like he was never mine. I contemplated in my own mind if this is specific to Native Americans or just close family ties. I think it's good that they didn't specify a tribe, because it kind of lays a foundation for you all reading that book, because I don't know if one day you would even be interested in deciphering the tribes, but it just lays a foundation on the culture, I guess, of Native Americans. You know, all these missions came to the reservations a long time ago to try to convert, just kind of like how she talked about the boarding school, to civilization, because they thought that's what civilization was. And so I think they did a good job. As far as the bad parts of the relationship with Rayona and the priest, like how that could have happened and got awkward, I've never heard or had any of those experiences, so that might have been when they first came to the reservation.
I guess from my experience with the priests is that a lot of them drank, when they were there. I don't know of any of that, that situation that was talked about in the book with Rayona and Christine with the priests, but I know that they, many of them had drinking problems when they were there. The other thing is that besides that, one of the priests in Prior started to learn the Crow language, and he learned to write the gospel in Crow. So during the Sunday Mass, he would read the gospel in Crow, and I think he did it for the benefit of the like a lot of my aunts and uncles that went to church there. None of them spoke English, and it helped them to understand it better. With him, how he learned the language was that he kind of became an Indian. He learned to go into sun dances, and he learned to do the ceremonies that we have, which helped him, to be around more speakers of the Crow language.
I had one aunt that said the whole time growing up that she just worshipped the nuns and really wanted to be a nun when she grew up. Then I have another aunt who went away to boarding school and hated it, and hated the nuns, because some of them were crabby wenches. Some of them were really unhappy people. Others, my mom calls them her savior. They gave her something to do. It's a complicated relationship. You get the good guys like Father Hurlbert, who really honestly have some tie and are there to help in whatever manner and try and take in some of the ways of the native people and blend. And then you get the saviors that want to come and save the Indians. And that's just a pain in the neck. I mean, that doesn't do anybody any good. And they're not accepted into the community, and that's not what it's supposed to be about.
Because of the oppression and all that, I struggle with being as patriotic, but I'm married to a veteran, so that's in our own household, and we don't argue about it or anything, but he's very, very proud to be a veteran.
We had a warrior society, and that was like an important part, mainly because there were a lot of warfare against other tribes between us.
I have the generic his story, I guess, with my mom and dad and all that stuff. I don't really know my dad, you know, so it's the same as kind of Rayona's story a little bit.
I definitely felt a connection to it because this could be any of my family. I felt some sadness because there's a lot of really difficult things that happen in this book. But I also felt a real sense of pride too because Indian women are strong women. Women in general nowadays have to be strong women, nothing against the guys. But, and I think if you look beneath the surface of a lot of the stuff that's happened, you can see that.
I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be a man.
You're right at all.
Yeah, I want to. Like, I want to firefight this summer. I'm trying to do a lot of stuff. And yeah, I liked how she's quiet, but yet she can be out in, you know, out of her comfort zone.
But the one that really pulled at me was Aunt Ida. When you think about the challenges that this woman had to overcome again and again and again, you know, raising someone else's child, having to keep secrets, losing her son, having her daughter rebel against her, even though she had put all this time and effort into a daughter that was not biologically hers, having to fight Clara for this baby, feeling like all this time that she kind of pined for Willard, and then he came into her life, and then she was just sort of, and in his words, good enough, but it made her feel like he was settling for her. Just a lot of sadness. My heart broke for her because life was awfully unfair to her, and she still did the best she could with what she had. So this reminded me of my grandmother, just fighting to survive, just fighting to get by, and watching. She had 3 sons that went to Vietnam. By the grace of God, all 3 returned. I think in regard to Native people, they've suffered such loss historically, and there's so much generational trauma that to give up a child is almost like another defeat. I think maybe in Ida's eyes, money isn't everything. She could provide for her in a way that she knew it would be enough. And she also, I think, maybe knew that Clara's intentions were not good. Why'd you keep yours?
I just wanted him to have a better life than I did. And that was like the goal. Like, my mom was a lesson to me, like what she did. So then I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna show him better than what I had.